But 2049, I think, stands alone as its own thing. You can watch it not having,
They give you enough information in the film.
Yeah.
So that you kind of...
You can follow along without having, watched the original, which I think should have helped it. And it's a little disappointing that nobody, or that not as many people as went to see it as they should have, But still, it's a great achievement for sure.
Yeah, and I won't say to spoil it for James, but Wesley, that end scene is really, really good.
Yeah, the conclusion's nuts.
Yeah.
The movie's super long, but it doesn't really... It feels epic, but it doesn't feel like you're not... I don't know. I wasn't tired.
You're tired after?
No.
Okay.
No, and honestly, that's something my dad told me after we watched it is, oh, that was a 3-hour movie? He's like, I would never know. Unless you had told me that was a 3-hour movie.
2 hours and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Well worth it, though, dude. Especially, and if you love, like, anybody who's a Gosling fan, this is like some of his best work. For sure.
Yeah. Well, he's had 3 great movies in like the last 18 months or so.
Yeah. Coming back with a vengeance, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Number 2?
My number 2 is actually Logan.
Oh.
So, we already talked about it. But,
starting to mash up here.
Yeah.
With the
yeah. My number 1 has already been talked about, too, so.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, well, my number 1 was Blade Runner.
Okay, see, so
yeah.
I figured it was that or what I have as my number 1.
I don't know if I have more to well, what did you think about what's his name? Why is his name escaping me now?
Jared Leto?
Yeah, what did you think about him?
He was a good character in the movie. I know a lot of people want to shit on him because of Suicide Squad and everything, but I thought
it was good, but they didn't. I feel like they didn't give him enough screen time.
Yeah, he really only has two scenes in the film. They're longer scenes, but he's really only in those 2 parts. And really, it's Love who has more screen time than him because she's really the villain,
like the henchman, type of thing. Did you hear about him, actually using like blind contacts?
Yeah, I told you about that. Yeah. That was a crazy thing. I guess he's known for doing stuff like that, being really
the method stuff.
Yeah. And I think I said that like he had a guy walk around with him on set, like because he couldn't see anything.
Yeah,
guide him everywhere, like to his trailer and onto set and to the food and everything. I think that's crazy, but that's cool.
Yeah, he's good in the movie, and even in those 2 scenes, he's really menacing in those 2 scenes. But yeah, I agree. Like it might have been cool if he had a little bit more screen time, especially because he's really played up in the trailer.
Yeah.
For the film as being a bigger part of the film.
You want to go to your number 1?
Well,
yeah, that's
cool. You have anything else to say about Blade Runner?
No, just make sure you go watch it.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna buy it when it comes out for sure.
Check it out. I'm really excited to watch it again. My number 1 is what I spent my summer doing, and that was Dunkirk.
Wow.
Because I spent the 2 months at the theater making sure the 70mm was good and then actually running the 70mm when it came out. So from July through Labor Day weekend, as I was doing all Dunkirk all the time.
Wow.
But that's my pick for favorite movie of the year. That was a tough call because I loved Blade Runner so much. But when I was thinking about Dunkirk, it's really tight. It's less than the 2-hour movie. And when we were looking at the runtime,
it's his shortest movie.
Yeah, it's his shortest movie, I think, because I think Memento's even longer than this. But when we were looking at the runtime, none of us believed it. We're like, oh no, all his movies are like 2.5 to 3 hours long. No way, this is like, it was like an hour 45 minutes. But it's it's super tight. The way that it's framed is you have 3 separate stories, and they all take place in over a course of a different amount of time.
Okay.
But it constantly goes back and forth between each story. That really just kind of keeps the tension ratcheted up the entire film.
Okay.
So that you're not like, oh, okay, like, you know, these guys are going to be okay, because as soon as you think it looks okay, it cuts to something else, and the movie keeps up like that. I don't know if Wesley knows this, because you haven't seen it, right? It's got like this ticking clock underneath pretty much the entire movie. It's like I think it was Christopher Nolan's stopwatch.
Okay.
That they actually recorded, and it's in the sound design for the film, or pretty
wow.
much throughout the entire film. I mean, it's very subtle. You can hear it in a couple of scenes, but you know, you don't hear tick 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 like for 2 hours.
Yeah.
But it's underneath. It's in the sound design for the film, because
that's cool.
These people are running out of time. You know,
Yeah.
the people on the beach are waiting on the beach to get rescued, and they're basically sitting ducks.
Yeah.
You know, and the guys in the air, you know, they only have a certain amount of time, because they only have a certain amount of fuel in their planes to go and fight the battle and then go home. Mm-hmm. And by far, that was my favorite section of the movie, because the aerial combat scenes on a big screen were awesome.
Okay.
They were so cool, and just the look of it. I was talking with my buddy Joel last weekend, who had just seen it, and he says it was really cool because they weren't like some cheesy air battle, you know, like it actually played more into the strategy of like trying to shoot another plane down than just, you know, a video game where you shoot at a plane and it explodes and then you move on to the next one.
Yeah.
That's one aspect of the film that he really pointed out and said it's really good, like kind of a realistic depiction of a dogfight.
Nice.
And that's the section that Tom Hardy's in.
Okay. He's
awesome in the movie, however long he actually is in the movie, because of the different sections.
Yeah.
But I loved it. It was awesome in 70mm. It was awesome in IMAX. I'm almost kind of worried to watch it on a smaller screen now, because it was just so amazing to see on the big screen. But that's my favorite pick of the year. I think Christopher Nolan probably deserves some recognition, finally, for this, because just the way that it's shot, the way that it's structured, just that you're running out of time, that the way he put the movie together, I think is quite a feat. And if you don't know, all 3 storylines do converge during the climax.
Okay.
All three timelines converge during the climax of the film. But that was awesome.
Wasn't there a what's that guy? He was a singer or something. Isn't he in the movie?
Harry Styles.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's good in the movie.
He's good?
Yeah. He's good. He doesn't have a huge role, but then again, no one in the movie really has a huge role because of the three separate storylines going on. But he was good. Kenneth Branagh's really good in the few scenes that he has as one of the admirals waiting on the beach. And Mark Rylance, who was in Bridge of Spies, he's the dad on the boat.
Oh, okay.
That's coming to rescue the guys on the beach. He's really good in the movie too.
I'm gonna check that one out.
Yeah,
it's out on Blu-ray.
It should be out now.
Yeah.
I think it just came out before Christmas.
Okay, cool. We finishing that up?
I'm done talking about Dunkirk.
We doing
Wesley? I don't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead,
James. I know you saw the film.
Yeah.
Anything to contribute?
I have to agree. It's definitely it felt very realistic and in your face. Like the action pretty much picks up from the start. You know, from start to finish. There's things going on, and it's definitely a step out of his comfort zone
Mm-hmm.
as far as filmmaking. It was very different, but I really enjoyed it. I would say the reason why this film wasn't in my top 10 is that there was some, because the timelines take place, and I guess like with different spaces of time or whatever, I found myself kind of confused at times. You know, with that being said, I've only seen it once, and there's a lot to kind of absorb in that one screening. But yeah, that's why I didn't talk about this time. But I did love this film, and I do think it's amongst the greats for the year for sure.
Well, I had the benefit of watching it every day for 2 months. 6-7 times a day sometimes, but I know that you had brought up, I think when the movie originally came out, that some people were talking shit on it because there's not a whole lot of character arcs. Or, like, the characters aren't... I forget what you said. Like, they weren't fleshed out.
Yeah.
You had read that some people were complaining about that, but honestly, like, they don't need to be.
Yeah.
I mean, these are the characters that you meet in this moment in time. And it's really more of, like you had mentioned, a survival film. It's not necessarily like a war movie. And they're talking about, oh, like, I got Mary Jane back home, and I'm going to get married to her when I get home and everything. These guys are, like, trying to survive throughout, whatever their separate timeline is. You meet them over the course of a day or an hour or a week. And I don't think that it needs to have, like, a lot of character building. Everything you need to know about these characters, you learn over the course of this film, just seeing how they react to the situation that they're in now.
Yeah.
That's why I think, that for anybody who didn't like it, it's probably because it's kind of like, an unorthodox approach to film. But that's not a bad thing. If we had more of that, we wouldn't have nearly as many reboots and people trying to resurrect these things that have already had success, because we could do things like Dunkirk, where this guy's forward thinking. He's thinking out of the box, and this definitely was a success for sure. So good pick, man.
Well,
Yes.
I think it was a big hit, and then it came out like in mid July. But because, like we were talking earlier, like August was a dumping ground, that it hung around for a while and was still doing big business throughout the rest of the summer. I mean, I wouldn't have been there running it so long if it wasn't doing business. They kept it, I think, a month past when they were supposed to get rid of it.
Even on 70, right?
Yeah, on 70. Not just like in the theaters, like on 70 millimeter. It was supposed to be, I think, originally a 2-week run. And they let it run for 6 or 7.
Very nice. Well, I think that kind of wraps up things.
Yeah.
And then we can move on to our honorable mentions.
Yes.
Let's. Who wants to go first?
Why don't you go first? Because I just wrapped up talking about Dunkirk. You take the floor.
Mine. This would probably have been either my number 2 or number 1, but I realized that it didn't really come out this year. So I just put it on as an honorable mention. But it's the Devil's Candy that I've talked numerous times about on the show.
Yes.
It's starring Ethan Embry.
Did you review this for the show? Was it one of your earlier shows about this, or did you just give it a mention, like a recommendation?
Okay. Recommendations.
So I remember you were talking about it at one point.
Yeah, we've definitely talked about it maybe 2 or 3 times.
4 or 5.
No. Yeah. It's now on Netflix.
Yes.
So it's readily available. It came out in 2015. I didn't know that, but I guess it's been lost for a couple years. Kind of like Green Inferno had problems being distributed, but it's finally out, and I feel like it's on a lot of people's like top 10 horror films a lot of people's, which is cool. And it's